All right, we're here with not our first two-time guest, but our first two-time episode sponsor, Matt Cassidy from Beyond Insurance. It took a couple tries to get you here, but thanks for making the time and coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's nice to be back downtown, and the green screen is another step up again. Every time I come, it's like a step up, so it's exciting.
What are you talking? What green screen?
Yeah,
we're outside right now.
Yeah, whatever this
Exactly.
background that we all know what it is what our background is.
Right. Yeah, the ambiance just overwhelms a guy.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, you are welcome.
Yes.
Speaking of ambiance, let's start first of all. Congratulations on your new space. That I guess not so new at this point, but it's still new in Capstone there. It's I was there. It's phenomenal. How has that been for you guys so far?
It's been great. We moved in at the end of April, so really still quite new. Like, we're still having contractors come in and sort of finish up a few little odds and ends that catch your eye when they're there, and so definitely appreciated it over the summer, being able to open a window or open a door and see out onto Bower Ponds instead of onto Gates Avenue was a huge upgrade for us and the staff. And we're lucky to move in there when we did. And then even for the team, at that point in time, we were 8 of us in 1,000 square feet. So not even, 100 per basically. And so it was a little bit tight. So we're happy to be a little more spread out. So that's nice.
Well, at least you're all in good shape.
That's
right?
true.
You get a little more. You get me and Lund and Dustin in there. It's even worse. So
yeah, the volume goes down, I guess. But
you guys needed bunk beds or bunk desks in there.
We had 3 people in my office at the end. It was Overwatch, right? Just sort of yeah. So we're happy to be out, and I'm happy to be able to get a little bit more done. So. Yeah, it's been great. Great neighborhood. They've been doing lots over there. Lots of night markets and community events and food truck Fridays. And, for it being not really developed, there's a lot going on, which is cool.
And Troubled Monk is right there. So which is always nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just again, because Lund came up with one of the best ideas I've ever heard. As we sit here on these brand new custom stools at Communal Creative Studios, maybe they can build it for, would you do a bunk desk? If you got the bottom, or would you go top?
I don't know who my bunkmate would be, I guess.
Yeah, I think you'd want top bunk.
Yeah, I probably would.
That way you have the power seat, and that way you're just looking down on everyone.
Yeah, I'd have to climb up there all the time though, so I don't know.
Oh, you could do it, man.
That's I rented an Airbnb that had a bunk king bed, so it was
what?
Yeah, so it's like a king bed, and then the king bed runs lengthways, and then the bunk is built stairs above where your head would go.
Oh yeah.
And so then that part of the bed goes the other direction, and
what was the upper bed a single?
I think it was a twin. So realistically your kid would sleep up there, but that's if you don't have kids.
Lund, I've got some design ideas for your house.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'll never say no to them.
It was wild though. And they had 3 of them. So every room had this upper deck.
See, they're maximizing their space.
It's not like the Airbnb we stayed at in Seattle, and Dustin had to sleep on basically an ottoman that didn't even stay attached to the couch. So he was just a floating, curled up ball every night.
You would hear him rolling in the middle of the night, and you'd wake up on the other side of the room. It was pretty entertaining, actually.
Aren't you glad you're back here? You spent your hard-earned money for this interview to get asked about bunk desks.
You know what? I took it on a tangent, so I'm all there for it. No problem.
So let's talk about insurance. We did already. It had to be close to a year ago now. At this point, I think
so.
Don't know where the time goes, but obviously, busy summer now. What does the fall, winter kind of look like, or is there not really seasons?
I think every brokerage is going to be a little bit different. Ours is very, very heavy from sort of March to about end of August. And then now for us, it sort of slows down from existing clientele, which is good because by the time you get through claim season and the summer and people are busy and doing stuff, buying houses or starting up companies or kids moving to university or whatever the sort of situation is, it's a nice time for us to kind of revisit some of the things in our business when it's slow. So that's really what we're doing. It's also kind of the end of our like fiscal year, so it's a good time to take stock of things that way. And October is a wild, busy month. Like, we have a lot of planning sessions that kind of come in the fall. Our group of companies, there are 14 sort of partnered offices that are all independently owned. But they have a conference together with all of our like major insurance partners, which is always a really interesting time to kind of, bounce things off one another. You get to hear about different issues across Western Canada with some of the partner offices. And so we haven't been able to do that obviously in person for the last couple of years. And this year we'll head up to Edmonton as a group and reconnect with those folks. So that'll be good. And I'm looking forward to it. It's been a wild couple of years, like you said, with moving the office, and we've grown a ton, and it's been an enormous amount of support from like our clients and the community. But now we're kind of at this, teenager phase where we have to refocus and, get ready to take advantage of that sort of first bit of work that we did. So it's an exciting time. That's what's coming up.
So are you guys seeing anything different over the last couple of years and maybe when you kind of first got, like, has anything really changed with what you're insuring, or obviously I'm getting my insurance bill. I've seen the premiums go up.
Well, you should be with Beyond.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk after this,
Maybe
Matt.
we will.
But like, has anything changed drastically, or is insurance always just kind of always status quo? And depending on what happens throughout the year, those certain events will be more in focus.
Yeah, I think I would say it's a very misunderstood industry in that way. The insurance companies, and a lot of people don't realize this, but from an underwriting perspective, they operate almost at like a break even. Mm-hmm. So they make the majority or a large portion of their money through the investment of the premium dollars that we all pay.
Oh, okay.
So what we've kind of seen over the last little while is in the Canadian market, there was definitely a very soft sales market. It was really aggressive for like 10 years. You could get pretty much anything done. You could be really competitive on price. You could get underwriters to sort of compete with one another. And as the global world changes, that sort of puts pressure on the markets in a different way. And that comes down to the end consumer. So in Canada, insurance companies weren't collecting probably as much premium as they should be, and they were relying on the financial returns of the stock market to kind of offset that operating ratio. And so now we saw some rate increases a few years ago, and they're like directly related to not underwriting properly. And now we're seeing rate increases that are in direct response to the changing sort of economic climate of the world. So the rate increases aren't going away, and some of it's related to like direct insurance underwriting, and some of it is related to like global pressure that they're sort of feeling from an operating capital sort of standpoint. And that's something that until you look at it, people just sort of phone and they're like, I haven't had a claim. And it's so much bigger than, even that very brief synopsis of it. So I'm not necessarily seeing anything new, but I'm paying a lot more attention to sort of those global trends, because you get to see it hit us in Alberta now in a way that you didn't used to, at least in the last like 10 to 15 years. So that's been an interesting development, and it's hard to explain to someone whose car insurance just went up 20% for like the fourth year in a row. And it's like,
I had no idea. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So
I have a question. How insured is the average person against their own stupidity? Like, I see car commercials that tell me I can take my SUV off-roading. So I drive it halfway up a mountain and it goes horribly wrong. Like, I know that's probably a really broad question, but I'm just wondering, like, if I'm dumb, how insured might I be?
I think
how insured is Dustin Moore? He's not here to defend himself.
That's right. Yeah. Where's the lowest common denominator with a license? That's how insured you are.
Sorry, Dustin.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta clip that.
No, that's staying in.
Yeah.
No, I mean clip it like
put
on
it
the video.
internet
Yeah.
so everyone can see how nice we are to Dustin.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's all good. If you don't show up, you pay the price, I guess. But I think that, I think you're relatively insured. You know, I think you're, the one that was interesting to me was renting a car. And I had heard in Hawaii, there's like this road that it's not an insured road.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know if how do they know? Like, you know, so, there's definitely a broad range of stupidity that's covered for sure. Like, yeah, I've had people like hang TVs wrong and they fall over and they claim it. And, you know, it's always
It's worth a call.
It's worth a call. Yeah.
Okay. What about like a lazy boy chair when two idiots can't figure out how to plug in the recliner and almost tear it apart? That's probably not insured, eh, Lundy?
You know what I've learned? You can insure anything.
That's true.
You just, it's just what price are you willing to pay?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Okay, well, I guess we could have tried it.
Well, I'm glad we didn't.
Hey, I have a claim.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about someone else, not us.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's a wild like industry that way. We get calls that you just like wouldn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like totally ridiculous, but yeah.
So speaking about insuring anything, I may have asked you this last time,
I think so. Yeah.
I've come with some notes this time.
Okay.
And this is the list I've seen of the kind of craziest things insured over the last few years.
Okay.
And it's some of them are
Porn on his phone. I can see it. Yeah.
well, let me close
Share it.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can insure your mustache if you want to.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I guess if you have a very, very good mustache and you're worried about it, like getting damaged or
Erin's husband, yeah.
Griff should look at insuring his mustache.
He shaved it and I'm sad. So honestly, like if I could do something about that, I would.
Make a claim.
Yeah.
You can insure spoiled food. So if there's some sort of like storm or the power goes out in your fridge or freezer.
That's terrible, actually. So that happens all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And my younger brother, one summer worked for a restoration company, and it was like the summer that the entire town of, I don't know, I want to say like Delburn or something had a sewer backup.
Oh, and that's what that smelled.
He said it was unbelievable, like the amount of rotting meat and stuff that they had to take out, and there'd be guys, those poor guys, they'd put on like a full scuba suit and swim under the sewage of like a mobile home and like address whatever the issue was.
Yeah.
And so those ones are gnarly.
Because at that point too, you'd be getting like if meat's spoiled in your fridge, you're getting a new fridge.
Correct. Yeah.
And like,
That's
so
true.
in the flood in High River, as I moved out there literally the night before the flood, and then we weren't able to get back into our place for like 3-4 weeks. And we were told don't open your fridge, duct tape it shut, throw out your fridge. Too, like, is that kind of stuff? I can't even remember because I was just renting. Like, is that kind of stuff insured? Like, if you have to literally throw out your fridge?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like it depends what happens, but in a flood, you've got, water insurance and
No, because we didn't get flooded at all. We just everything around us so it got flooded, so we couldn't get in. It was weird.
Tons of those when the fires like went through Fort McMurray because people got evacuated.
Yeah.
Power went out for the town. Everything was ruined. So there was lots of that type of stuff, which it just turns a guy's stomach when you.
Yeah. Oh, that's
you got through 2 questions on your list, and I had to stop you.
No, I'm going to keep going because this next one is going to be very timely. So yeah, the next one is actually very, very appropriate because Halloween's coming up, and there's going to be some haunted houses out there. So you can insure your haunted house for obviously liability, or for obviously if anyone damages the haunted house, if they get scared and punch a hole in the wall.
What if the ghosts leave?
Well,
Are you insured?
Let's ask the expert here.
Could I insure my house
From getting haunted.
ghosts.
No.
Oh,
I already have ghosts,
They need
and I'm
to
making
stay.
a business. They need to stay. What if the ghosts go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
No, it's not. You don't have to be nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've never insured a ghost. before.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll look into it and get back to us.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, when I come back next year, we'll deal with that.
And I also found on the internet you can get a $10 million policy for alien abduction.
Okay.
So if you were ever to get abducted by aliens, the beneficiary would get $10 million.
That's cool.
Maybe difficult to prove, but if it ever happens, I mean, might be worth your while.
Interesting.
So does Beyond? I mean, I feel like Beyond that would fall right under your guys' banner.
It would suit us for sure. I'd have to look into it, but hey.
That premium's got to be free money because Lund is right. Like, how do you even prove it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, he didn't get abducted by aliens. He just went to Wisconsin. Like,
more importantly, like, who's buying it? Like, who's that worried about it?
There's some hardcore people out there, like all those Area 51 nuts.
Yeah.
That swear to God, they've already been abducted.
Right.
And who knows? Maybe they have. I don't know. So
Too late for insurance now, though.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those
right.
people, just go talk to your guy or your girl. Go talk to Matt and see what he can offer.
Yeah, that's right.
The last one on my list is actually something I might look into. You can insure your fantasy sports team.
Oh.
So I don't know how it would work, but let's say you drafted a team and your star player on that team gets injured.
Yeah, I needed that last year.
Yeah.
gonna say.
So I don't know. So that I feel like with my group of friends, we do a lot of fantasy sports stuff. So I feel like that's something I would be very interested in.
Yeah.
So just a few
For your
ideas.
$20 sports league, like,
Right.
yeah.
Well, so there's obviously guys out there that spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on those leagues.
That would make sense for sure.
Yeah.
So how does stuff like that work? Because I'm a normal person with normal insurance. I've got my house, I've got my car, I've got insurance for my rental property, like normal human stuff. When people come to you with crazy things like, I'm worried I'm going to get abducted, where does that process start with you guys? Is that an automatic, we don't do that, or is that something you look into
specifically for abduction insurance? Not something we do.
Okay.
Yet.
Well, that's the beyond. That would be the beyond part.
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes we're learning, but I think that's one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is sort of carving out what, even the average person maybe needs and hasn't thought about. And I think that's an approach that goes beyond, just sort of the transaction. And so whether or not it's a wild and crazy like trip they're going on, or like, a vehicle or a $200,000 engagement ring, like stuff that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Or maybe just the general public, like that's still exciting stuff to kind of come across your desk, whether it's, mobile apps that people are developing or different services or different tech ideas or, I've had lots of interesting things kind of come up, and that's what keeps me interested a lot of days is, okay, what's going to be the next cool thing or cool idea or cool business or cool project initiative that someone's going to be interested in, and how do we help them solve that problem and protect themselves or whatever they're trying to achieve. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Huh.
It is more fun than it sounds.
Yeah.
So I want to take a step backwards from all this intelligence stuff. And because other than everything Lund has said, and it doesn't have to even be about like one of your customers specifically, but like, what's the dumbest claim that you've ever heard of that someone has tried to claim?
One that comes to mind is, and it was actually terrible for this person, but
good start.
It was her son threw like a huge house party with his friends, and he only had 5 friends. Like it was like 5 friends.
That's the sad part of the story. Yeah.
and they had like 5 buddies over, and they just trashed her place, like their own house.
Yeah.
And it's a very awkward one because you're kind of claiming against yourself, and this kid, anyway, it just kind of blew my mind because as a teenager, I was, I've done stupid things, but I would never trash my own house
with
with
5
of my
friends.
buddies.
It's like some
I
41.
think I only had 5 friends.
Trash my own house party because nobody came.
Yeah, there you go.
That one's for Kevin Walsh, who also isn't here. Yeah. Big Sum 41 fan. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a weird one. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of different ones. People stealing gas, like, well, especially right now.
Yeah.
People drilling in and stealing gas. There's always like the criminals in like downtown that will take your catalytic converter out of your car.
yeah.
And it's like, no one really knows what they do with it. Tailgates were always getting stolen off of F-150s for like 5 years. It was like a ridiculous thing. They're like $1,000 each, and people would just literally steal the tailgate off of your truck and take off with it. And
so it's not necessarily dumb claims, but claims because of dumb people.
for sure,
Right, okay,
that there's a lot of that for sure. And criminals too. Like, you know, you have to think like a criminal to come up with some of this stuff. Like, you wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know how to do that, or that it'd be valuable, you know, to steal a tailgate. But
You know, Riley heard all that and he just left the studio and we're all parked downstairs.
Exactly.
So I don't know what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little side hustle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought that was him there, but that's a mannequin head with an oh dear. That's seemingly floating. Anyways, keep going off on a tangent. Here's an actual, like, I think maybe it could be a good question. Is there, and I don't know if we asked this last time, Lund, is there a specific like type of insurance or something that people generally don't insure but should? Like, something you think like should be a more common type of insurance that people, you know, obviously like a lot of people maybe don't have tenant insurance or something like that.
sure. I think that probably the best way to answer that is like, even from a industry perspective, it would sure be nice if the companies would get somewhat on the same page with what they offer. Because like, for example, I think I have 11 carriers for like personal home and auto insurance, and trying to present that range of options to a customer and help them make an educated choice about like what makes the most sense for them. When, you know, say there's the top 4, and then of that top 4, 3 of them have a certain feature that would be, you know, great, and 2 of them, you know, don't have the same thing, and then one of them is sort of far and away the best, right? And you kind of work your way to that decision. But it's really challenging because everybody's in sort of a different financial situation too, where, you know, some folks like need a certain deductible, some don't. Like, that's where I think we prove our value as sort of independent help in that decision-making process. But there's not really any one thing. The goal is to kind of find out what that one thing is for each individual, because it's going to be different. And I think, you know, I had a meeting with a client today, and I said to them, you know, what's your appetite for deductibles? Like, how do you feel about this building that we're in, that we're talking about? And they literally just said to me, you know, I just trust whatever you think. And it's like, okay, fine, but I don't know, you know, how that's going to pan out if there's a water leak or something, and we're going to come knocking for a deductible of $5,000 or $2,500 at any given moment. And so it's hard to kind of predict the future. So it's sort of frustrating in one sense because there's so many options, but it's great to kind of be the person that helps you figure out what that is for each party, I guess, would be what I would say.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that. And Lund, make sure you're paying attention to this when you switch over. I remember when I switched over though, and where you're talking to me a bit about car insurance providers, and you basically said, here's a couple options, but this is the one that I think is best for you. And I don't know, I mean, I trust you too, but for me, also, like, I'm not going through all of this. That's why you go to the expert, right? So, and you did. You saved me. Sorry to steal this from a different insurance company. You saved me a whole bunch of money on car insurance.
That's good.
You really did. You really did, and you still are. So whatever it's worth coming from me, to Lund and everyone else out there.
So that story Matt was just telling us about, I feel like you were the client.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, man. I trust you.
I was. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, the blind trust is
nice.
Is a very nice compliment, but it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And so we get there. But
well, not for me, because if you did, like, Ted, I screwed up, I'll say, well, it's my fault for not doing my research. So don't remember that for the future, though. I still want you to do what's best for me. Yeah.
Correct.
So Ted, to answer your question, I think I have a little bit of insight here. So I used to work at a car rental place like 12, 13 years ago. And a lot of people that rent cars is because they get in an accident and they obviously need a car while their vehicle is getting repaired. So the people that had that car rental insurance or that policy that built into their policy were just so relieved because they didn't know how long they were going to need their vehicle for. The people that didn't have it were the grumpiest people on the planet, and they were just kicking themselves for not getting that piece.
That's a great answer.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
That's one thing when we opened our business, like those rates were going up so much for rental agencies. I specifically sold way more than we used to always ever sell.
Yeah.
Because it was always the most frustrating thing. You hit a deer and then you're waiting for Ford to like send you parts. And then they're phoning you going, you got to take the rental back. It's up and the parts aren't even in yet. And then you're, screaming at me and it's like, yeah, that's frustrating. That is a very good point. So I try to avoid that or have a conversation about it. And some people have like 4 vehicles and they're like, don't charge me that, and it's like, okay, fair enough,
Yeah. So that's in my very limited experience dealing with that. That's the most common. That'd be my one recommendation for anyone that has.
You should go into insurance.
You never
if it doesn't work out for you here.
Yeah. It probably won't.
Yeah.
It's been living on borrowed time for quite a while.
Yeah. Plan B.
Yeah. But and going beyond just insurance to it, like it's been a busy year for you because you have since, I can't remember the exact timeline, but you also are now the chairman of the chair of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce.
That's
something
correct.
Like that? Yeah.
So I'm the board
title. Yeah.
Board president of that organization. I've been on that board for 5 years, going on to 6th, which is my last year here this fall. Yeah, it was a wild year. Like we ended up hiring a new CEO this year, which was a really interesting process to kind of lead on behalf of the board and engage, a firm to help us do that and go through the different interview processes and hire someone of that caliber was, a really interesting experience for me personally. And the organization too has had a lot of changes. Like they, coming out of the pandemic, a nonprofit like that, they're basically treading water. They're heavily reliant on their partnership in AgriTrade, which is a huge event every year. And to not have that happen, put enormous pressure on the chamber, and the staff there did an awesome job just sort of keeping the membership going, because that membership was under enormous pressure too. So it was a really interesting couple of years on that board where you've got businesses that are impacted and government programs, and they're coming to the chamber to get some help. And then the chamber was actually in charge of distributing a bunch of COVID tests to different businesses in the community. So I think they handed out something like 4,000 kits to the community. So they were a busy little place and in the middle of a huge transition. So it's been an exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to this coming year with it being a little bit more settled and normal. And yeah, it's going to be a good year.
So Matt, how long is your term as the president?
It's a 1-year term with an option for a second. So that AGM and election will happen in 2 weeks on October 5th.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So I could do 1 more year, and we'll see what the board wants. So
I guess stay tuned to social media after. Yeah. Once you hear this, you never know.
By the time Ted gets this episode out, you'll probably know the results.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's right. So Matt, like for those that don't know, what would be the kind of primary focus of the Chamber of Commerce?
The chamber basically acts as a connector for the business community, and I think that there's a lot of member benefits that come with becoming a member. You can have certain insurance discounts. You can save money on gas cards. You can, save money on advertising. There's a lot of different member benefits that more than make up hopefully what you spend on your membership fee. But you have to access them. Like it takes just like any type of benefit. Like if you have massage benefits and you don't go for a massage, then it's just, wasted money. So I think the chamber's doing a better job of making sure that members are aware of that, because now they have resources to do that instead of hand out COVID kits. But, so they do a lot of support, but a big connector and a big, player in terms of the advocacy that goes on in government. So, you'll see the chamber making a comment or a position on something related to a municipal policy or different things that impact business owners. So they try to be the voice of business, but it's also about building a vibrant community. And that's what sort of the mission is for the chamber. And they know that the business community sort of drives a lot of that in some cases.
Is it working? That's it.
Is it working?
Hard question. Yeah.
Is it working? I mean, I think, and I wouldn't say that all of these are chamber initiatives, but I think in a general sense, you look at what's happened downtown with creating the entertainment district and even the vibrancy of Ross Street standing there today versus a year ago is certainly different. I am personally quite proud of the way that our new CEO, Scott Robinson, and I worked together really early. Like he had the job, maybe for a month, and all of a sudden the news came down with respect to this city's site selection for the downtown shelter. And, that's a service that needs to be somewhere. There's no real right answer. But what was happening is you'd have all of these different advocacy groups or concerned citizens or business owners or taxpayers like shouting at the city without sort of a refined voice. And we worked really hard to get all of those people kind of in one room and then created a letter and a statement of position on behalf of, I think we collected something like 400 different, pieces of opinion. And that was really interesting to then see the city take that into consideration, change the decision process, and we don't know what's going to happen, but the fact that you could have some sort of an influence on a government wheel that was already turning was really, really interesting. And then, I've heard really good stories even through the pandemic, like Bose with the patio and a lot of other places, with city zoning and bylaw, they're getting a lot of pushback because it's not something that was written in terms of these sort of temporary throw up patios. And then the restrictions force them to make certain decisions. And the chamber did, step up and help with making sure that stuff got expedited in time for the operators to actually take advantage of it. So there's a lot of little things, and those are maybe three things that I would say, is it working? Yeah, you're seeing patios stay up longer. You're seeing, the downtown area slowly turn. You're seeing the advocacy piece do its job, whether or not everyone will agree with what happened. The fact that you can influence government to the point of taking a step back is a good thing. And then we do that on a provincial basis and national basis too. So I think it's working, and I think it's like more in line with building that community together and that vibrancy. Like it's not just the chamber doing that. You've got a lot of other individuals and organizations doing that. But yeah, if you can connect them, then we have results. So
yeah, my answer would have been yes too, as an outsider. But really, it's what, end of September, 8:00 on a Tuesday night. I don't know if any of you noticed, but like the Ross Street patio was packed, full of people still. And I know the weather helps, but still, it's pretty awesome to see.
I remember when we interviewed you last time, you were across the street in the, I don't know what restaurant place you were at, but I think you were the only one in there.
Correct.
And I don't know what time of year it was, but it's night and day from last time you were here. So yeah, I would say it's working as well too.
Yeah. I'll never forget that, like going over there, and I was nervous, and I'm like, okay, I need like a Jameson or something. And I go over there and I'm like, hey, you guys open? They're like, yeah, just pull a chair down and like sit wherever. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, it was still pretty COVID-y then too, wasn't it? Like, it's been night and day since your last interview, honestly. I guess people just caring about COVID more than anything, but
things are looking up.
Yeah. So one last question too, just with it being on the Chamber of Commerce, obviously being on the board, but just being involved in general, obviously it has to help you and anyone else as a small business owner, right? Just in the people you meet and learn different business practices and stuff like that. So lots of reasons even to just join. let alone, be a part of the board or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I had a chamber event tonight, and it was the business after hours, and they'd had the most tables at that event since pre-pandemic.
Nice.
So the businesses are coming out. People want to network again. There's tons of expertise out there, really good people. And yeah, it's funny because I don't really see too much of the like day to day of the chamber, because it goes to Andy, like my wife. And so she keeps tabs on different events and stuff. But to have that separation is cool, because I get to hear from her what we're doing on the ground floor, and then understand how some of the decisions that we make, as a volunteer on that board impact that. So it's kind of a neat experience to see. Then at the event, it's full, that's what you want.
So do you have to be a chamber member to attend any of these events, or what about like prospective members that want to see what it's all about and they want to join?
I think, yeah, chamber members might get a better rate on certain things. It depends what you're going to, but a lot of them are free. But like a lunch speaker, for example, might be a better rate. Well, it certainly is a better rate for a chamber member than a non-member, but you can, it's free attendance. So,
right.
It's kind of a no-brainer to just join.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it sounds like there's no reason not to join.
There's no reason not to join.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of events, the last thing we'll talk about, because next episode will be too late, but we're hoping to kind of go and be a part of this for the next episode, but the Business of the Year Awards coming up, and this episode will come out before those, but when October 19th?
Yeah, I believe it's a Wednesday, and I believe it's at Red Deer Poly, and it's usually a really cool event, and they've changed some of the award categories this year, but it's a great time to get out and network and hear some really, really positive stories, versus sort of your normal, like it's not a networking event just for the sake of it. It's really about celebrating business and the entrepreneurs in our city, which is always really, really inspiring. And they've got young entrepreneurs and people that have done amazing things in the community. So I always have a really good time, and you get to spend some time with other business leaders too. So it's fun.
Oh dear, was never nominated for an award
yet.
Yeah, I mean, or ever probably, but that's okay. Is that something too, like the public can attend? Anyone can buy tickets to that?
Yeah, again, I think it's open attendance. There's an admission to the ticket, but it's a great thing to go to and just support people in the community that are doing something different. So.
Yeah, there's so many good business leaders out there like yourself, and it's cool that you guys get a night to celebrate it and really enjoy yourself for all the hard work you put in. And
yeah, it's exciting. It's amazing. Like it's one of my favorite nights. Like they've got kids that have started businesses and people that, especially during the pandemic, came up with different ways of delivering their service and supporting people, and it was like just incredibly inspiring. And you've got large companies that have been in Red Deer for a long time that are, getting recognition, and you kind of forget sometimes, being just even in the community, that some of these big corporations that have a head office in town, they're still honored to get that recognition from the community and see the impact. So it's exciting.
Who votes on that? Like, who decides who the?
It's an interesting process. So they actually have there's a submission and application portion. So then those get aggregated, and they have an accounting firm actually do a fully independent audit of the results. And then the finalists go through another process with that firm to sort of tally their different scores. And then the accounting firm basically releases the results. So it's totally independent of anything, to do with the chamber, other than that it's, our event.
Right.
It's like the Oscars.
That's right.
Yeah. Exactly. Didn't they announce the wrong
they screwed up
winner or something at the Oscars or something like that? But hopefully we can go and be a part of that. We kind of want to talk to some of the winners for next episode. But either way, I think, that's something would be really nice, especially this year, to be a part of, just because this is everything now is like the quote unquote first since COVID, right? And this is kind of the first big one, I guess, right? Since any kind of restriction has been put into place.
Yeah, the cool thing with our Red Deer chamber is we're the only chamber that actually held Business of the Year during the pandemic in person both times. And part of it was like timing of restrictions and different ways that the staff got creative in putting that together. But that's pretty amazing. And I think that shows the spirit of like our community, you know, that our chamber, you know, it's not necessarily a business, but that, you know, you're hunting down that event on behalf of the business community. And it was the only one to do it. So it's pretty special to come back now and kind of blow it up, hopefully. So.
All right. Well, I guess we'll start to wrap up before we start asking the same questions we asked last time. But again, Matt, always really nice to see. Again, there's, you know, the insurance, the business owner side of you, and just everything else, all that you do in the community. We didn't have time, again, to talk about like the more community initiatives and stuff that you do. So yeah, maybe you'll have to come back for a third interview. But lastly, again, just remind people how they can get a hold of you, and even if they're even just want to see, hey, maybe should I switch insurance companies?
Sure. The best way to find us is on our website, beyondinsurance.ca. You can start a quote there. You take a look at the different agents we have to see who might be the right fit for you. And it's really the easiest way to get in touch with us. We're on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and yeah, happy to.
TikTok?
No TikTok, no. Ooh. I know, it's like the dancing and it's just a lot for me personally to take on. But
yeah, we can't all be huge TikTok stars like I am. My one video has 3,000 views.
Holy smokes. Yeah. Well, you're eating a lot of shit in the morning. So.
That's basically my job. When Matt called me with this interview, he said, "Oh, you have to eat any gross shit today?" Yeah, that is what my job has become. Yeah. Yeah. But Matt, on that note, thanks again for coming back, and to you and Andy and everyone at Beyond Insurance for your continued support of us. And you know, we can't wait to see you behind the world's first bunk desk.
Oh yeah,
thanks for having me, and neither can I.
Oh dear.